Well, hello there. I wanted to make a small video talking about something I've never discussed before, but I find it has come up several times in the last year for me personally online, and um, it usually happens when I'm watching a video. I'll scroll down to the comments and I'll see this a crazy remark about by some commenter, and they'll mention in their comment they'll mention Tartaria, and what they say in their comment is that basically, there'll be in the video there will be an image of, let's say, a town hall or a large, train station or a hotel or a courthouse or just something, just so a very nice building built in the classical style. There's like Corinthian columns and just you know, and they'll say, "Isn't it too bad that we can't build buildings like that anymore? They've all been, uh, you know, and you know, they tell us who's they? They tell us that these buildings were, let's say it's. I'll use the example that happened to me today. That's why this is fresh in my mind. Um, there was a picture of in the town next to me, the town hall. There's the town hall. I won't name it, but it's the town hall, and it was it was built in the 1860s. So it's like 175 years old, give or take. And the commenter said that, and they, who's they? I don't know who they are. They tell us, you know, that these buildings were built, with horses and wagons and primitive tools, and I don't know what they thought the 1860s was like, but you know, even though there were steam cranes and and all kinds of lifting devices powered by horses, but I responded to the comment, because it was just idiotic, completely idiotic. This this comment, and he came right back at me. He must just live on YouTube. He came right back at me. You're wrong. Oh, if you researched it, you would realize that. So I responded back and said, "Well, I studied construction for 4 years in school. Like I built buildings. I know how buildings are constructed. It's like it's obvious." He says, "Oh, well, no, 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 no. You have no idea. You just don't know it." I'm like, but and it goes back to ancient times, and how could they have done it? So then I said, okay, I studied construction for 4 years, what we might call a trade school. I studied separately at the university level. I studied ancient Greek and ancient Roman culture. Two separate courses, one on the Greek culture, one on Roman culture. And architecture of both civilizations. Architecture was like 25 to 35% of the course, like as far as content goes. The architecture was a big thing because really, what do archaeologists have but, you know, ruined buildings and, excavations and stuff that they've done. So the archaeology is how do people live? That's how we learn about, cultures. And so you can see when you look at a building that's half fallen down, you can see how it was built. It's up, it's an open book. So you realize that building techniques, essentially piling stones up onto bricks or any quarried or any modular masonry piece, you learn how they're built, and it was refined over thousands of years. There's nothing new under the sun. And so these guys are coming in, in the 1860s. How could they build such a building? And I basically, I think the world today has become so stupid, so historically illiterate. People are ahistorical. I don't think they see the world around them, like they're looking at their screen in their hand and reading what someone else who's just as stupid as them has said about, well, everything got buried in mud. I just find myself irritated. And so you tell them, okay, well, okay, I studied construction. I understand. When I look at a building, I can see how it went together. I can disassemble it in my head. I can reverse engineer it in my head. Just looking at a building, you can see it. It's just there. I don't even need to see the blueprints. There's, it's like looking at an engine. It's like looking at a gearbox. I can't see inside the gearbox, but there's shafts and there's gears and there's bearings and you know, it's there's no mystery here. And yet they're acting like it's some sort of global conspiracy that some civilization built these, fairly recently, and that we've lost track of it. Can anybody explain to me how people can be so stupid as to think that a town hall built in the 1860s, and there's newspaper articles of newspaper reporters who were there. The Prince of Wales was there at the grand opening. It was a major public event. It was witnessed by hundreds of people. It was in the local papers. It's not a mystery. There's nothing. It was on, there was land that was purchased for it, the budget. It's in the minutes, in the historical record. How much money was it? Cost £22,000 at the time to build it. I'm in Canada at that time. We were a British colony, so our currency was the British currency. So it cost £22,000 in the 1860s. It took like 10 years to build it. So it wasn't a magical build. It went up brick, but it was made of local brick and faced in stone. Very typical for large buildings. They build the whole thing out of brick and face on three sides, the part that people see, the front that's all pretty and the sides, and then the back isn't faced in stone at all. It's like cost cutting. There's bean counters 175 years ago too. So they built it in brick, faced it in stone. It's There's nothing super special about it. Like, it's a nice building. It's a nice building. There's lots nicer, and they're all built the same way. So I just find myself shaking my head at the stupidity of the world. The people are gullible enough to believe such nonsense. It's it's almost like a demonic possession in their mind. They have this warped view of history that even things that are known to be verifiably true and documented and witnessed and agreed upon by 99% of people. I'm not saying there's no such thing as a historical debate. There are many things in history which historians debate regularly on all manner of subjects. But the fact that a town hall built in the 1860s was built by some imaginary empire that existed just shortly before that in the Disney. Before then, there was Indians wandering around in the woods around here. Like Canada's not hasn't been Confederation was 1867. So and the ground opening of the town hall was in 1869, and it was in the construction during the time of Confederation. So they're like 100 years before that, there was nothing there to see but beavers and deer and moose and bear. Like uh, uh, there was no secret advanced empire that was palaces. It's mind numbing, the stupidity and the idiocy and the childishness. It's like they're stuck. They're not only demon possessed, they're stuck in this warp, and their mind is fixated on this degenerate, ahistorical delusion. It's all I can, it's a degenerate, ahistorical, delusional mindset that I just don't get it. So there are many things in history that are well worth studying. Many things in history that are worth studying and which are hotly debated amongst historians, and rightly so. The construction of a local town hall in the 1860s is not one that needs to be debated. It's very clear who authorized the budget, who built the thing, and if you go back in time, it's the same thing. Nothing. There's no magical buildings that just appeared by an ancient civilization that nobody built. Somebody built everything, and some of the things yes, there are things that are built, we don't know exactly who built them. We don't know how they were built exactly. But we can look at the structures and reverse engineer them. Even the most puzzling things in the world we can see. But if you look at recorded history, the history that has been passed down to us over the centuries, over the millennia, you go back to medieval times, you go back further to uh, the Romans, the Greeks, and in earlier before that, the Persians, the Babylonians, and on back. The architecture of each civilization that they built was constructed according to the same laws of physics. The laws of physics are the same now as they were when Noah built the ark. Okay? Um, the piling of one stone on top of another and arranging them and cutting them and shaping them and the hewing of a timber, and then in more modern times the forging of steel. I want to say to all the people who believe in this delusional mindset to wake up from this. It's a serious thing to let your mind be led down this crazy, delusional, demonic, ahistorical path. In this day and age, people need to think clearly. They need to accept proven facts. There are facts that are uh, that are presented to us, and do your due diligence by all means. But when reality says that the town hall was built in such and such a time, that the cornerstone was laid on this date, and the grand opening was this date, and the Prince of Wales was there, and the newspaper reporters were there telling all about it, and all the ladies of the town with the parasols were there. Everybody was there. It's done, and it's been in use ever since as the town hall, and there's a courthouse in it, and a concert hall. It's a very nice building. It's a very nice building. It was a very excellently planned and laid out civic structure. And so, three cheers to the architect. And it. But if you are presented, let's say, with a scare quotes fact about Tartaria or some imaginary civilization that existed somewhere at some time, nobody knows. Oh, it's in the wilderness, but then it was all over the world, and then it disappeared. Oh, so anyways, that's my experience, and I've had several of these encounters with people who are trying to tell me that there's no way those buildings could have been built 200, 300, 400,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. The laws of physics are the same laws then as they are now that we still use to build buildings. When I was in school, I don't know what it's like now. I've been out of school for a long time, public school. We learned about simple machines. Capital S, simple, capital M, machines. Simple machines. And the teacher at the time said, you know, it was, this is how everything in life happens. Like these simple machines, there's levers and there's fulcrums and there's inclined planes, and every complex machine can be broken down into its simple machines. A wheel is is a lever. It's just, I don't know what they teach in school these days. Like they don't, you know, uh, leverage. I just don't get how people are so stupid and ill-informed and do not understand how, and this last interaction I had with this other commenter on this video, I said, okay, you say that horses and wagons and manpower alone couldn't build that. Well, I'm a horse logger. I move whole entire forests with my own brute strength and my team of horses. I myself, using a lever called a PV, I can roll a log. I weigh 160 pounds. That's my weight. Using a lever that's 4 feet long, I can roll a log that weighs almost 2,000 pounds and move it horizontally and up a slight incline. Just, and then if I hook my team of horses to that same log, they could lift that. If I had a long enough rope and a pulley attached up high enough, I could hoist that log up indefinitely. I could build a skyscraper using ropes and pulleys and teams of horses. It could be done. You can put hook a steel beam on a sling, hook it to a rope and blocks and tackles, and you can use just manpower alone. You just have to use reduction pulley blocks. Like it's not complicated. They've been doing it for thousands of years. That's how everything gets built. We just in the modern era, with the invention of the internal combustion engine, it's first steam and then the internal combustion, we've replaced that mechanical lifting with hydraulics primarily, although there are still, you know, climbing cranes, but so the technology has changed, but the principles are the same. There's examples ongoing now of people building medieval castles. There's there's a couple in Europe right now. They're building them using the hand tools and horses and manpower. They're building, lifting stones and all the building materials up to build the towers and everything. This it's all, you can scale it all up to do anything. It's just not economical because labor costs too much. You know, when the town hall in the video that I was watching, when the town hall was built, a laborer made pennies a day, pennies a day. So you could have 300 or 400 men working on a building site to build this one building. And you've got this an army of guys building this. Well, that our whole army of guys, you only need 20% of them now because the machinery, the technology has replaced manpower. That's the only difference. The building still gets built the same way. It's just that it's all done mechanically by hydraulics and wave cranes and all this stuff. And they're built cheaper actually because uh, just the way it is. You look at the buildings of today. We could build beautiful buildings. We could build them with brick and mortar and carved stone, and do all that. But what? Okay, say you're a civic government. You're trying to build a new town hall, and or any a library, you name it, and you put out a call for tenders, and you say it needs to be so many thousand square feet. It needs to have X, Y, Z number of entrances. You give all the specs, and you say put out a call for tenders, and you just leave the design wide open, and you have an architect who designs, a steel and glass box. You have an architect who designs a concrete box. You have uh, an architect who has a stick-built uh, box. And then you have an architect who's who designs it all in, you know, brick and quarried stone and marble floors and alabaster. Just you know, way over the top. Copper roof. The way they used to build. So then the bean counters at the city council, they sit down and they're looking through. They've got their pile. Okay, they've got their whole sheaf of you know proposals. They're gonna say, okay, there's the concrete box. It's 100,000. Let's just say for round numbers, $100,000. The concrete box is going to be $100,000. The stick built box is going to be $85,000. This glass and steel box is going to be $95,000. Though the one with brick and quarried stone and marble floors and polished staircases is going to be $495,000. Well, we're not going to build that one. That's why you don't see buildings like that. Okay? We're not going to quarry marble in Italy, sail it across the ocean, and use it for the windowsills. We're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. You're going to get a steel and glass box, you're going to get a concrete box, or you're going to get a stick built box. Those are your options, or you're going to get a hybrid of concrete, steel, and stick. You're not going to get a limestone like we built. You're not going to get, you're just not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Nobody, no municipal government is going to pay that kind of money now that we have cheaper options. Okay? So you can talk about lost civilizations all you want, but unless you're willing to step up and donate, you know, several $1 million extra to do a municipal project and have your name on the plaque, it's not going to happen. So private individuals can do that if they so choose. But who has the desire for that sort of quality and beauty, right? That's a whole nother topic. But this is the thing, you know. Anyways, that's all I'm gonna say on that for now. I just wanted to get that off my chest that this idiotic, demonic, delusional, ahistorical nonsense of Tartaria, or whatever however it's pronounced, that there's some magical lost civilization that built all, you know, train stations and hotels and, you know, courthouses and all this bullshit is all it is. So, anyways, I'll leave it there for now. And hopefully, the people that see this video, if they're inclined to believe nonsense, that they will take a sober look at the world around them and look at things carefully, okay? Just look at things and try to get inside the mind of the creator. See if you can reverse engineer. You see something that was, you know, man-made. Try to get inside the mind of the man who made it, or the men, or the women, okay? And try to reverse engineer. And if you get stuck and you can't figure it out, do a little research. Think, okay, how would they build that arch? How could you build something like that without a crane, you know, from the local crane rental company? How could you do it? Trust me, there's a way. So you figure the way out and then get back to me. Take care.